How are you, Jeff? First
Oh, absolutely. You can't do that, man.
So-
Priorities.
so I left-
I've been there.
I left 30 minutes after she raised.
Yeah, that's it.
She's playing second base.
Yeah.
She's 7.
Boy, that's got to be fun. That's a fun
kinda
age.
fun.
That's kind of age. So he's not really far off before he
I've
gets
been trying to talk him into him put him in T-ball. I don't think they're ready.
Oh, they'll be ready. They'll be
So
great.
the problem is they're all.
Problem is he's not ready. The parent is, come on, don't hit them. Come on, you got. What are you doing? I
Especially those that know the sport.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
But
get
yeah.
that instruction level. You got to realize it's not age appropriate. You know.
Well, the funniest thing about Kate
elbow
is,
in.
is she knows, because she's watched Luke play for so many years, so she knows. You get on her today, she picked up, she threw it, she didn't have it all in her hand, it just went straight up in the air, remember? And she goes,
Wow, are these for us?
oh, she knows.
Yeah, apparently.
The thing is, in that age group, you can readily tell who's got older brothers and sisters because it shows like a beacon in
I don't
their
think I got one the
kids'
first
development. And it's an amazing
That's right.
advancement.
I don't think I got one the first time.
It really helps to have the older
Must be a new tradition.
Yeah.
Somebody,
parents just don't
Must
fill
be.
the gap. So it's got older siblings, and we can tell they're growing, aggressiveness.
Luke's throwing so many balls at Kate.
Yeah. Hip hop hitch. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
It'll be on the
Sorry,
back with your
my
name on
group
it.
couldn't make it, so it's good. Parting gifts. Oh, isn't that cool?
All right, you got all kinds of good stuff.
Remember all these wonderful faces here. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm up to do something then out here since Ron's not here.
Yep. I think it's time.
Yeah, I think
The
we
last
are.
beer board.
We'll go ahead and we're going to bring into session the beer board here and get everybody to have a seat and start off the meeting. This is the August 14th beer board. Alderman Honkin, who is the chair, was unable to be with us this evening, so I will be filling in his stead. And we do have an agenda before us of the beer board, and we'll start first with the approval of the minutes from June 26th. And I wanted to get a clarification from Mr. Smoke about the people who can vote on it. I think we had that question come up before. If we weren't there, can we still vote or not vote?
You can still vote on the minutes. That is okay for you to do. I think it's just depends on the tradition that you have from your perspective. But certainly, if we need to get them approved, we can.
And the reason I ask is 2 of the 3 of us are listed as not having been at the meeting with the
I wasn't there.
minutes, so and I wasn't there either. So, but with that said, I guess we can entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the minutes are approved. We have 2 items on the agenda. The first one, Allison?
Yes, sir. The first one is the approval of a Class 4 on-premise tavern and Class 5 off-premise beer permit for the Casual Pine of Farragut at 143 Brooklyn Street. As you recall, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen revised the beer permit ordinance back in May of 2014 to allow for additional classes of permits. The details for the additional classes, Class 4 and Class 5, are in your packets. The retailer's off-premise permit and the off-premise permit is essentially the same thing we've had before. It's just where people can buy it on the premises, but they consume it off-premises. And all the application and the information is in order, and the applicant is here tonight if there are any questions.
There were a couple of things I noticed, some differences for this Class 4. I wondered if you could just maybe highlight a few of those things that were
Sure.
in our packet, just so everyone understands kind of what is a little bit different about this.
Okay. The on-premise tavern permit is brand new. It's where the beer is sold for consumption at a tavern or on the premises. The tavern shall mean a business establishment whose primary business is or is to be for the sale of beer to be consumed on the premises. There shall be not more than a total of 3 taverns located within the town of Farragut, and this will be our first one. To qualify for the Class 4 permit, the following items have to be met. It has to be housed, it cannot be greater than 3,000 square feet, and they cannot make or allow the sale of beer between the hours of 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Sundays and between 12 a.m. and 10 a.m. on the other days of the week. And similar to our other beer permits, it cannot be within 340 feet of any church or school. And provided throughout and with the approval, supervised automatic fire sprinkler systems must be installed in accordance with the NFPA 13. And Dan Johnson, our fire marshal, has been working with the applicant to make sure those are available.
Thank you. Questions from members of the board?
Who's here representing?
Mrs. O'Brien is here.
Do you have anything you'd like to address to the board?
Ma'am, I'm sorry to make you do this. If you don't mind coming down to the podium so we can so we can hear you, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And perhaps if you might share with the location, I don't think maybe people may not be familiar with Brooklawn Street, what that actually is and where it's located too.
The Brooklawn area is the Kroger Center, and the spot that we've identified, it used to be the Sunset Tan, was in that location prior to where we're hoping to be. And I don't have any concerns. If you have any questions for me, I hope I can answer them for you.
How is it working with staff? Are we getting your permits and your processes, things working?
I believe everything is working pretty well at this point. I have to say that my husband, Pat O'Brien, is the one that is doing most of the work. He is out of the country right now, so I'm stepping in for him at this point. But I think things are running smoothly, and I'm hoping they will continue to run smoothly.
Of course you are. That site is not sprinklered at present.
It does have sprinklers.
Okay, but it doesn't meet the classification that they're requiring, or what's the?
It does.
I'm not sure.
It does meet it. They were just verifying that everything was in working order.
Okay.
And they verified all the square footage as well for that building.
So how did y'all choose Farragut as a location, if I might ask?
Well, we've lived in Farragut for 26 years, and we have visited other casual pints in the area, and it just, I'm not sure when they decided to franchise, but for some reason my husband had this great idea that this might be a fun thing to do in his retirement whenever that happens. He has more jobs than he needs, but so I sort of became part of this too, and we're looking forward to it. We think it'll be a great place for people to get together and have a pint of beer and socialize. We'll have some entertainment on the weekends, probably 2 or 3 people playing guitar, nothing loud and crazy, but and we hope it'll be an asset to the town.
Well, we hope so too, and certainly welcome you and thank you for choosing to establish your business here in Farragut.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate opening?
The hope is in the mid-October. That just depends on construction and how things go with that. So that's what our plan is right now.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
None.
Not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve
Second.
this permit.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it approves.
Guess you're in business.
Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome
you.
down.
Thank you.
Next item, Allison.
Second item tonight is the approval for a Class 1 on-premise beer permit for the French Market at 161 Brooklawn. And this is actually where the ice cream store used to be, which is right beside, I think, where the Casual Pint would be going. This is essentially the same application we had before that was just the on-premise beer permit, which was for restaurants. The highlights for this are that 60% of the gross revenues must be from food sales and no more than 40% can be from the beer sales. And those are reported to the town on or before June 30th of every year. The application and information are in order, and the motion is to approve a Class 1 on-premise beer permit for the French Market at 161 Brooklawn Street, subject to obtaining a certificate of occupancy.
Any questions from the board? Is the applicant here? I wonder if you might address this. I would kind of curious along the same lines of your anticipated opening and kind of how you found out about this location for your and the format for your restaurant and for your.
It took a long time to choose a location. We've been 6 years downtown in downtown Knoxville operating. So we started looking last summer for a location and just
Sorry,
couldn't.
your name, please. Yeah.
Alan Tate. Yeah.
Thank you.
We couldn't find a spot anywhere in Knoxville we liked without just. Actually, it's the aesthetics of Farragut that made us come down here. It's nice. We like the way it looks, and we like the shopping center, and we like the whole area. It worked out really well. We looked at Turkey Creek, and the rents are just too crazy and too high and too congested, and we prefer the Kroger Center over here a lot better. So we're pretty far along. We've received our CO. We're all finished. We're going
Great.
to open next week or the week after next. So this is the last hurdle. We had to wait for a CO, I guess, to do the approval for beer permit. But we like Farragut. We're real happy about it. We signed a 20-year lease. Hope we'll be here for a while.
Commitment, yeah, that's,
Well, I will probably be a customer now. What are you selling there besides beer?
We do French crepes and baguette and croissant sandwiches and soups, pastries. Everything's made.
I just wanted to hear how
Fresh to order,
how you
yeah.
pronounced it. See.
Crepe. It's E, not E. Yeah.
Vous parlez français aussi?
Je parle français un peu.
C'est bien. Okay, well, welcome to Farragut. We hope you do well. And if you got crepes with,
We used to live in Paris. My French has gone down.
I think I read that. I read an article in the paper about your
My wife and I went to
downtown.
Paris for a while.
Yeah, I lived in
but-
France for 2 years and I miss it. And so if you got crepes with Nutella and bananas,
We have about 50 different kinds of crepe. We have sweet and savory, and we do white flour and buckwheat, which is the gluten-free.
excellent. We'll have to come check that out.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll be 7 days a week. We do breakfast. That's one of our biggest things downtown is breakfast.
great.
So.
Do you live here in Farragut?
No, we live in Sequoia. It's a nice commute, though. We do Westland Drive. My wife wants to move down here, though, so
We have.
We'll
a place.
see.
We have a place for you.
I'm sure. It has to be on the water over there. I have a boat downtown.
I can recommend a good builder. We'll take care of it.
Oh, my God.
Soon. Soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate, appreciate it. Any other questions from the board? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the on-premise beer permit for French Market.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Congratulations. That concludes the business for the August 14th, 2014 Beer Board. We are now adjourned. And on
And
main event.
on that note, we will open the meeting for the August 14th meeting of the Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen. We'll start by rising for the invocation to be given tonight by Steve McCullough of Cornerstone Church. Follow that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Father, we come to this moment recognizing your blessing and grace upon our community. We ask, Lord, that you will attend to the matters at hand. We ask your grace, blessing, and favor upon these leaders of our community. We pray continued blessing on the town of Farragut and all of its citizens in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of the agenda. Any changes needed?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Next is Mayor's report, and I have a couple of things I want to talk about. One is the election that we just had, and some of you who are new here may not recall that we used to have our elections in April in odd number years, and nobody else is having elections in April in odd number years. Sometimes we were having elections during spring break, and as a result, nobody voted. And the last time we voted in April, we had about 200 voters. This time, by linking it to a bigger, more inclusive ballot, we expected we would get more people voting. And this year, over 4,000 people voted in the Farragut election. So the conclusion is it worked. And we think people ought to be voting, and so it's a good sign for us. And I'm glad we did it. Tonight is also the last of these meetings for Jeff. And he won't be with us anymore. And I'm sure he'll be with us
On the
in
board. I'm
spirit.
still alive, but I'm
He'll be with us in spirit, but not in person. And I want to give him an opportunity to talk a little bit.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that very much. Thank you for the reception earlier. It was great to to have some cake with my name actually on it. I was kidding earlier. I've been through that where you've kind of pulled out a cake. It's, hey, congratulations! But no, I really appreciate everyone's getting that together. And I did have a couple of thank yous I wanted to express. Certainly, thanks for the tremendous educational opportunity, and I use the word educational intentionally. It's amazing how much you can learn sitting up here. And I've been in the town a long time, thought I knew quite a bit, but boy, when you sit up here, you do get a chance to learn an awful lot about a lot of things. And I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm certainly a better informed citizen for having volunteered this time for the last few years. And certainly want to start by saying thanks to the voters of the South Ward for giving me this opportunity. I've certainly given it my best effort the last 5 years and 4 months, and I do want to congratulate Mayor McGill and Alderman Markley on their reelection to this board, and to certainly extend my congratulations to Ron Pinchok, who will be occupying this seat come the next meeting. I also want to thank Mr. Williams and Mr. Underwood for their volunteer efforts on behalf of this town and for their participation in last week's election. As the mayor pointed out, we made this intentionally to draw more people into the process. We did it with the voters, and certainly moving forward, it's great to have candidates stepping up as well. When I first came on the board in April of '09, our newly elected mayor and Gary came up with this approach about having a casual get-together off-site where we could kind of get to know each other a little bit better. And I think it was very important that our mayor took the lead, owing to kind of some things that had happened before that time, to say that, one of the things we were going to do was to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. If we had the moments where we had differences of opinion, and that's what we needed to do, is take the high road. And I'm pleased to say I'm in part of a group that took that, and I think we set a standard that people in Washington and Nashville could learn from, to have good, intelligent discussion, questions, and comments without people turning into a Jerry Springer show here. So I'm glad to have been a part of that group, and I hope it certainly continues as we go on. At the mayor's encouragement, we refocused on getting this board back to what it was all about, and that's charting the course for our town, letting our town's tremendous staff sail the ship. Unfortunately, this hasn't always been the case in years past, and I certainly applaud our mayor for educating us one and all about, that's really what this town is about. Tremendous volunteer support, but also a tremendous paid staff that does a great job. And I want to thank you, Ralph, for your leadership. It means a lot. I want to thank Alderman Markley and Alderman Honkin, Vice Mayor LaMarche, for all of their dedicated efforts. I've seen up close and personal, and it's mentioned a lot. I mean, we're all volunteers here. Nobody gets paid for this, but it's a tremendous opportunity, and we're all very appreciative of it. And certainly, it's a lot of time and effort put in, and I do want to thank members of the board for that as well. I think it's also interesting to note, I was looking back at the history of the town, and over the almost 35 years of the people that have sat up here, I think there's only been really one other person that really went on to seek another political office, which I thought was kind of interesting. It kind of tells you that this is really all about community service. It's not a stepping stone to higher or greater political glory. People here are serving, I think, for the right reasons. And again, I think it's one of those interesting things to note. Certainly, this town wouldn't be the quality place to live and work and do business were it not for our tremendous volunteers that are involved with this town. And I could not conclude tonight without putting in a plug for all the great opportunities we have, not just up here, but all the committees throughout the town, and certainly encourage people to step up, to get involved. We have everything from recreation to arts to the Economic Development Committee to School Liaison Committee. We got something for everybody. All talents, all abilities. If you want to learn more about some things and you want to give back and make our town a better place, we've got something for you. So really want to encourage people. And when I moved in Farragut in '89, met some of the town staff. Mark was one of them early on some things, and really met a few people through the years. But we really, when you sit in this position, you get to appreciate the town staff, and especially it does start at the top. And with David and Gary's leadership, we've got a tremendous town staff here, and I do want to thank you guys for your great job that you do. It's been a pleasure working with you for these years, and we're all the better for having this kind of leadership for our town staff. I want to thank the town attorney for his guidance and wisdom, and I certainly want to thank Allison for her smiling face and positive spirit. It's always great, no matter how tough a day you may have had at work or whatever, you come in the door or whatever here, and she's always very positive and obviously does a great job with the awards that have been won for our financial record. So it's been a pleasure being up here with you. Our town's department directors do a great job. I mean, tremendous job. And tonight with Bud and Daryl and Sue and Mark and Janet. But more importantly, all the folks that work in these departments, we get a chance to meet a lot of these people, and that's been more of the really fun part for me. Some of these folks that I was talking with Bud earlier, the roads get cleared after a storm, salt gets put out. People kind of expect that, you know, and it's not done by magic. I mean, people are doing hard work on that. They're putting in long hours, and you know, we get to meet those people and get to personally shake their hands and say thanks, and that's meant a lot to me. These are people that I wouldn't normally have the opportunity to come across, and it's been a real pleasure for me to see such dedicated and some hard-working kinds of folks, because at the end of the day, those of us up here, we come and we go, but it's the staff that stays. They're the folks that are the glue that really keeps the machine rolling. And we really appreciate that. And I do want to thank our sheriff's liaison. I've had a chance to get to know Captain Harkins before and Captain Palmer now, and it's been great to know somebody in the sheriff's department. You can call if you had a question. So well, I saw you sitting back with the cake a minute ago, so help yourself on that. But it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and appreciate that. And certainly our intrepid newspaper reporters, thank you for all your coverage and dedication. And you guys sit through more things than I would. I hope they pay you a ton, because that's a tough job. And certainly last but not least, I do want to thank my family and my employer for being very supportive of this volunteer opportunity that I've been able to be given. And certainly it's been great to be able to give back some of the blessings that I've been given myself through the years. And I do want to thank everyone for the tenure I've been able to serve, and been a pleasure.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to miss you.
It's been a pleasure serving with you, Jeff. And, well, I'm sure glad I got reelected, because you'd have been a tough act to follow right now. I think I'm going to have to ask you for a copy of your notes when I retire from the board.
A lot of people to thank.
But the door is open. You can come back anytime.
Yeah, more gray hairs. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph.
All right. Next item then is the Citizens Forum. Do we have anybody?
No one has signed up.
Good. Approval of minutes. Oh, we do? Do we have some Boy Scouts here? Oh, yeah. I could see you now. Well, welcome. I assume you're working on a merit badge, one to do with city government or whatever it is. We have a little pin we give everybody who comes in here from scouting. So glad you're here, and if you have any questions about what's going on here, feel free to ask. So we move to approval of minutes, and are we going to be able to do this?
Again, Mayor, it's totally up to the board. It's been a tradition of the board, I think, members to abstain on issues that you haven't been here for. However, you do not have to. You can vote for the minutes if you feel impelled and compelled to do so. So I'll leave it up to the board to make that decision.
Now, I remember us voting on the June 26 minutes at the last meeting, and I abstained because I wasn't here. So I'm not sure why that's on here. Did we not have a quorum to approve them, or?
I think they didn't want to vote on it last time.
Right.
What's that, Allison?
I think you all decided not to vote on it last time, since you didn't have the 3 that were here for that meeting.
Okay, and we still don't. So.
I say let's go ahead and approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 26th. And we'll do them both at once, July 24th. Lame duck rules here.
If you'd like.
Yeah,
We approve both at once.
Sure.
Sure.
yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, done. We won't have that next week, next meeting. Next item is an ordinance, and this is the second reading, ordinance 14-09, ordinance to amend the ordinance 1406 fiscal year 2015 budget capital investment program, state and street aid.
I think you're on the wrong agenda. I think those are the minutes. It's actually going to be the second reading of ordinance 14-07. You scared me for a second. I wasn't prepared.
You guys are gonna have to fire me, I think. Okay, second reading again. Ordinance 14-07, an ordinance to amend Title 9, businesses, peddlers, solicitors, etc., Chapter 4, sign ordinance of the Farragut Municipal Code, Section 9-406, parentheses 4P, to amend the requirements for wall signs in the office district 3 stories, or 013, office 1-3, and office district 5 stories, office 1-5, shared entrance building. And this is second reading.
Mark, do you have this, Janine?
Well, this is second reading, so obviously it was recommended for approval on first reading. I guess if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them, or I can go through this to give you another an overview of this if you want. Or, but certainly if you have any.
Feel we have discussed this enough?
Does anybody need an overview of it, or I'd be happy to.
I was here for the first reading. Very comfortable with it. There's no changes from the from what
No,
we
sir.
approved on the first reading. I don't remember the 3-story part being in.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
It's there all the time.
Okay.
Now, but it really, it does at this point just affect this 5-story building, but the
Okay.
3-story has been part of the.
Okay. I just wanted to verify.
Because that's the way the ordinance is currently structured, and we didn't. That wasn't really necessarily requested to be taken out, so we.
It doesn't impact anything in the 3 stories. So. Okay.
No, sir.
Some in the audience may wonder what we're talking about, maybe just a little bit of
Okay,
overview.
yeah. What the request involves in ordinance 1407 is currently this building here is allowed 2 wall signs on the north elevation that faces Parkside Drive, and the size of those signs is based on the width of the building that faces Parkside Drive, and you add the 2 sign areas together, and those areas cannot exceed a 1-to-1 ratio of the sign area in relation to the width of the building. So I think this building's 288 feet wide that faces Parkside Drive, so the signage that's allowed on the north elevation is 288 square feet. So you could theoretically have, at this way it's currently written, 2 144 square foot signs on that north elevation. What their request is to keep the allowance for signage on the north elevation, but to allow for an opportunity to place a sign on the east and west ends of the building. The square footage allocation would remain the same, so it's still going to be a total of 288 square feet. It would just be distributed among the 4 signs instead of the 2 signs. There's also some provisions in this ordinance for no more than 2 different colors of signage, so that there's a compatibility and a consistency among the 4 signs. That on the side elevations, the signs be centered on the building, as shown there with that Duraline sign, and then that there's a provision that's provided for in this ordinance that ensures that the signs are all proportionate in scale and appearance to each other, so that you don't have a situation where one wall sign is either much larger or much smaller than the other 3, so that there's kind of a consistency among the signs, since they're going to be in a visible location on that building. So that's kind of a quick and dirty summary of what they're requesting. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance 14-07.
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. So, next one is a first reading, ordinance 14-10 on first reading to rezone parcel 59, tax map 152, and parcels 001-034, tax map 1531B, located on the north side of Turkey Creek Road across from Anchor Park, approximately 28.4 acres from R4 attached single-family residential district to R1 rural single-family residential district and OSMR open space mixed residential overlay.
Okay, what, is everyone familiar with this property? It's right across from Anchor Park off Turkey Creek Road. It's currently the villas at Anchor Park. There was actually, it's zoned R4 currently, which is attached single family, similar to what's behind the town hall, and a number of other developments like that in the town where all the buildings are required to be connected. And the concept plan for the villas was actually reapproved by the Planning Commission about a year ago, and it included a total of, at build out, it'd be about 99 units with 6 open space lots. The developers got as far along as they were going to do this in 2 phases. The first phase was actually platted as a final plat, the southern portion, and they actually constructed 1 building that's out there in the field, and it's a duplex. The development was originally planned to be all duplexes. And due to some changes in the market, they have decided to opt for a different plan of development on that property, and they're selling the property to a developer that's interested in building detached buildings on there. So when we were meeting with the developer, you know, you got a situation where you got an existing attached building in that you can't go to detached buildings in the R4 zoning district. So basically I suggested to their engineer, Mr. Rackley, who's here, that the only option I could think of is that they should consider the R1 OSMR, because it allows both attached and detached, and also has similar setbacks, you know, based on what's already out there. So the existing building wouldn't become a non-conforming structure in an R1 OSMR development. That's a zoning district that is what the cottages at Price Farm on McPhee Road is zoned, and they're going to have a mixture of attached and detached. We looked at the request in relation to the land use plan, and it is consistent with the character description of what's specified for that property, which is medium density residential. If you look at the kinds of structures that are specified for medium density residential, what the applicant's requesting would be very consistent with that. So it would not be you know, a problem or an inconsistency with the land use plan. What the request would actually do, it would be lower the density from 99 units to no more than 62 units, because the OSMR is an open space zoning district. So the open space would go from the current 12, a little over 12% to over 35%. In fact, I think their concept plan's at 40%. Obviously, in order to proceed with their development, they are going to have to redo the concept plan, the preliminary plat. They're going to have to do some regrading of what's out there, because they padded it out for these duplex buildings. And those 2 documents are before the Planning Commission for next Thursday's meeting. The rezoning request was actually approved by the Planning Commission, recommended unanimously. There was no opposition to the request. Everybody felt that You got less density, more open space. It's a visually compatible development. It's consistent with the land use plan. It's kind of a no-brainer. But they are going to have to consider a formal resolution next Thursday recommending approval of this particular ordinance, 14-10. That's really a formality. It's basically just to be in line with our practice. Under state law, what they did in July was actually sufficient. They make a recommendation on a zoning map amendment, but that will be taken to them for formal approval of a resolution next Thursday. What the applicant's requesting, just to facilitate the closing on the property, is to go ahead and receive approval on first reading pending the Planning Commission's formal approval of the resolution. And of course, you know, as you all know, the rezoning would not become legal until after the second reading anyway. So by the time it comes back for second reading, it would be through the Planning Commission. So the staff feels that that's a reasonable option, a reasonable request, and we recommend approval on first reading of ordinance 14-10.
Any questions?
Do any of our greenways touch on this at all?
Yes, they,
Extra space?
there will be connections. I don't know if you could go back to that concept plan in the villas. It's obviously it's going to be a little different, but at the ends of the proposed cul-de-sacs there will be at a minimum pedestrian connections to Finch and Bobolink in Audubon Hills. There's also an existing mulch partly asphalt, partly mulch connection to the walking trail that is west of Inverness. And the reason that part of that's mulch is there's probably one of the largest trees in the whole town is up on top of that hill. So we were trying to work with the developer at the time to lessen the impact on that tree and still provide for the public's ability to access that paved walking trail west of Inverness. So that's kind of a creative solution that we came up with, because it's I'd say it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, trees that I'm aware of in the town. It's a 60-inch plus red oak, and it appears to be in really good health. So we don't want to do anything to compromise that. We see it as a real amenity for the developer, and they saw it the same way, so we were able to work with them on that.
Thank you.
Mark, I've got a question. I'm trying to understand. It looks like from the Exhibit A that it's just going to be a small front section. Isn't that one that's marked R1 in the color map, Exhibit A?
Let's see.
Yeah, that's it.
For as part of the
So
ordinance.
it looks like the smaller part of the subdivision is going to go to R1 OSMR, right?
Actually, what's currently zoned R4 is all that's being impacted. Nothing is changing other than that. Those existing R1 parcels
Okay.
are staying the same. Nothing's changing there. It's exactly the Villas at Anchor Park property that's shown as R4 on the screen there. That's what's being rezoned. In
This
fact,
R1 is not even part of this.
no, sir.
Okay.
No.
Now I got it.
No, it's not. Now, all that used to be, I think, part of that family's property, and it was rezoned in a couple of different ordinances a few years ago.
Okay, that makes sense now. I'd driven out there and I was having a little trouble making sense of that map, so I thought that the
Yeah,
R1. So
absolutely.
just the crosshatch section is marked R4.
Yes, sir.
That is the entire development in question, right?
Yes, sir.
They're changing the whole thing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve. Sounds like kind of a no-brainer. We're reducing density and so. Motion to approve ordinance 14-10.
Well, you're the second.
Oh, I thought you were asking if there was a
Yeah, I
motion.
was,
to approve. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to go ahead, but
Second.
I'll yield to the sitting incumbent.
Second.
All right, now, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Moving to business items. First one is approval of bids for a new 2015 two-wheel drive half-ton pickup truck.
Good evening. What we have done is put out proposals for bids for a new 2015 pickup truck. What we have done is gone over the years, just growing a little bit at a time, and it seems like in the last couple of years, it's been a couple of years since we've got a vehicle. We've gotten extra staff that has come along in the form of new employees and also our seasonal employees. And what we've run into is a shortage of vehicles. The vehicles that they're driving is the large dump trucks and the bucket trucks, which do not get good gas mileage for transportation to the park and back and things like that. So what we did was David and I worked on an equipment purchase to try and alleviate that. And so we put out for a proposal for bids a half-ton pickup truck with the four-door on it, and also and then in that we had a option for an 8-foot bed, which means that we could carry more mulch or more materials in that. And so the one of the bids was a 6.5-foot bed, and the other one was an 8. And some people can offer that, some can't, but we have to put it out there because it's a better use for a vehicle for us. We received 4 bids on this vehicle, and the low bid was Ted Russell Ford for $23,190, and that's with the alternate 8-foot bed. And what we're looking for is approval of that bid to Ted Russell Ford for $23,190, and that is under our budget amount of $24,000.
Discussion? Motion?
Make a motion to approve the bid as recommended by the staff.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Again, this is nice working with you through the years and your support for the town. So, thank
bud.
you.
Next item is approval of agreement with White Realty and Service Corporation for reciprocal and access easements for property located at 11409 Kingston Pike.
We have been working on these for quite some time. If you'll remember, when we acquired the Russell House, we were simultaneously in discussions with White Realty, which owns the property to the north and to the west of the Russell House. We were going to have to install access ways to access that property from both Campbell Station Road and Kingston Pike. And what we had hoped to do, and I think actually Mr. Mayor, you and Mr. Smoke worked out the arrangement with White Realty in order to share the access road across David, if you'll mark it, that access road, as well as the access road that goes to Campbell Station. And each party has dedicated a reciprocal easement to the other of 25 feet adjacent to their property line, so that we have a 50-foot wide easement area to install a 26-foot curb-to-curb vehicular and pedestrian ingress and egress way from those main roads into access our property. The White Realty people have vacant land to the west of the Russell House property, and they have indicated a real interest in trying to get that property developed, and the town has agreed to construct those roadways as part of its improvement of the Russell property. We were going to have to incur that expense anyway to develop the Russell House property, and what this has enabled us to do is use less of our land for the access roads, and we'll share that with the White Realty people. The agreement that you have in front of you is a document that will be recorded at the Register of Deeds office, creating the easements one party to the other for these access roads, and it memorializes the agreement of the town to construct the roads, and I think Mr. Smoke and I both recommend approval of these agreements. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I worked with the White Realty attorney putting these together, and I think they should serve us well.
It'd be fair to say it's kind of a win-win for both parties to kind of put it in those words.
I think it is.
So they are okay with it? White is?
Yes.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
It is. It's essentially, I think this was anticipated at the time we bought the Russell House property. We had almost had it completely negotiated at the time that we closed on the Russell property, and hoped to have them in place earlier, but we got off track a little bit, and finally we got it back on track. But it reflects what I think we explained to the board that the parties had agreed to actually prior to the time we bought the Russell House. We're just now getting the paperwork together to document what we had already told you was the agreement of the parties.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement as stated by our town's attorney.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And then the next one is approval of a residential subdivision development agreement with Farmstead Developments, LLC.
You will recall that historically, when roads leading to subdivision properties are somewhat substandard, the town has attempted to reach cost-sharing agreements with the developers who desire to develop the properties that are served by those less than desirable roads. And we're changing our approach a little bit with this particular agreement. The developer, this is a piece of property that has been started and stopped in its development for some years now. We're working on, I think, about the third or fourth developer who has attempted to develop that land. It's also the property which was involved in the lawsuit against the town, or the development was, that has now been dismissed by the developer. And in fact, the property has changed hands since then. There is a new developer that has acquired the development. We have always told these developers, the town staff has, that one of the things that was going to be necessary before this property could develop is that Everett Road needed to be improved from the entrance of the subdivision down at least to Smith Road. And based upon our research about what we could require of a developer in the way of road improvements, we worked with the developer to develop a rather complicated formula to determine how much was an appropriate constitutional amount of money to ask them to pay. And the agreement that you have before you is one that was extensively negotiated. It provides for a road improvement fee of, I recall it was $3,276 per dwelling unit in the development. I think there are currently plans for, is it 65 dwelling units to be put in that development, so that the total, if 65 dwelling units were installed, would be $314,496. That amount was arrived at taking into account the cost to construct the improved road, as well as the impact on the use of the road that developed property would have relative to all of the other developable land along Everett Road. And that's the theory behind the calculation. The developer is in agreement with this agreement. It is a rather complicated agreement for a lot of reasons, but one of the things that it does is it allows the payment of the lot improvement or the road improvement fees to occur over time as the lots are sold in the development. There is the document creates a lien on each developable lot in the subdivision that runs with the land, and whenever a lot is sold, there's a requirement that the lien be satisfied. And if the developer pulls a building permit to build on the property or on a lot, then they would also have to pay the road improvement fee at that time. That's an option that they have to pay it over time. They also have the opportunity to put up a letter of credit at the commencement of the construction, or I guess, I'm sorry, once the final plat is approved, which is scheduled to be before the Planning Commission, I believe, next meeting. So they may opt to put up a letter of credit and not use the lien method. But all of that is provided for in the agreement, and there is also going to be a reference to the road improvement fee in the covenants and restrictions that are recorded for this subdivision. And the agreement also provides for a plat note about the road improvement fee to be put on the final plat. So everybody will be aware of this obligation that runs with each of the lots in the subdivision. That's an overview of what the agreement does. Be more than happy to answer any questions.
And so they are agreeing to it also, right?
What's that?
They are agreeing to it.
Yes.
I know there was a lot of discussion on this last year, and this is the sum that we all agreed to. It went before the Planning Commission, and everybody, the $3,276 per lot. David, that's what we worked out last year, right?
Yes, sir. We did a pretty extensive analysis on what the overall development of that whole entire Everett Road corridor was going to be. And based on that, and based on the number of lots that could possibly be developed, that figure of $3,276 per lot is what that number is for per dwelling unit. So, as other properties along Everett Road develop, then certainly we would anticipate having the same calculation done to those as well.
Right.
We have Everett
okay.
Road. We also have Everett Road improvements in our CIP currently. We're still requiring right of way. I think we're getting closer and closer every day, but certainly once and the applicant as well has final plat approval before the planning commission next week. So part of their requirements is to have this agreement solidified before the final plat can be approved.
Good. Well, let's get it done and get on with that.
Did I hear it right that you said 65 units?
I think originally there were 90. Then they
96.
reduced it in half to 48, and then they came back and now have submitted an amended concept plan and preliminary plat, and I believe the total number is 65 lots that would be developed as residential properties.
I know we've been all over the board with it, and this is the first time I'm hearing the 65. So
That's
just a little puzzled.
That's a fairly new number from that, but it really doesn't. If they increase the number of lots, all that does is increase the amount of road improvement fee that we would receive, or if they decrease it, it would, because the whole idea behind the formula is to try to allocate the cost of the improvement to the use that would result from the added dwelling unit in the development. So if you got a lot more dwelling units in the development, then there's going to be more impact on the road. If there are less, it'll be less impact on the road, and that's sort of the way the constitutional cases say it should be done.
So technically speaking, this is an impact fee.
I mean, I suppose you could say it's similar to that, but it's probably a little more fair way to do it than maybe we used to do it. We used to just negotiate a lump sum.
Yeah, no question
payment.
about that. But I guess what I'm getting at is what it all boils down to is it's an impact fee. Call it what you want, but basically that's what it comes down to.
I had a question, not being in the building business, but I just want to clarify, the town gets its money not when the lot is sold, but when the actual building permit is issued to build a house on the lot. Is that correct?
Or when it's sold,
it-
whichever comes
Oh,
first.
okay.
Yeah, whichever comes first. If they sell a lot to a builder, someone other than the developer, then we get paid from closing of the
Okay,
sale.
from the closing at that time.
That's
So
right.
we're not having to do anything extra to get the money, in other words.
That's right.
It's just right there, okay. And that holds the same for all the lots on that development,
That's right.
too. Any feel for the time frame for, I know it's tough to tell the economy and things, but I mean, if they take the option of paying us per go, could this be 5, 10 years? Or do you think obviously the letter of credit's a little bit quicker?
Well, it would be, the letter of credit would be the same, because the agreement provides that if they put up a letter of credit, we draw down on the letter of credit each time there's a sale. The whole idea of the way we're doing this is the developer wanted to use the land as the security for the fee, rather than go to a bank and get a letter of credit, which cost them money, which basically they'd have to put almost the whole amount of money, the $314,000, in the bank and let it sit there. This way they can put up the land. The lenders who have mortgages on Split Rail Farm have agreed to subordinate their mortgages to our lot lien, we call it, in the agreement. So we're in a first position with respect to our lien, and that's a long way to answer your question, but I don't know that it's possible that, I mean, in reading some of the covenants and restrictions today, I noted that they have a preferred builder that they're apparently going to be using. And there's possible that they could sell a lot of these lots at one time. If they were to sell all the lots to this preferred builder, then we would be entitled to the entire amount of the fee at the very outset. But I don't know what their plan is for selling them.
And that was the second question I had was, and you touched on it, we are first in line, given some of the checkered background of this development with other issues and things. We're at the front of the line to get our dollars, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, I guess as a parting comment on this, I'm going to go ahead and support it because I know that the developer has worked hard to get this agreement worked out. But I will say that with the qualification that I see this as a tax on development, which essentially says that development is a bad thing and we need to penalize it. And we know that whatever you penalize, you get less of. Whatever you subsidize, you get more of. So it's basically a discouragement to development. But I will support it in this instance because I know this development needs to get moving. But I think that we need to look hard at that. We're basically penalizing development in a town. It's essentially an impact fee. Well, and it's a big step forward. At least this is predictable. So. Anyway, with that said, I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this agreement and declaration.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And now comes the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things tonight. One is I wanted to make sure the board and the public are aware of a upcoming road closure that we're going to have on Turkey Creek Road. This is going to start next Monday, August the 18th, and it's going to run through September the 14th. As you can see on your screen, we were working on a slope project. There's a slope along Turkey Creek Road that has continued to degrade over the course of several years. And our job here soon is going to have we've already approved a contract for the contractor to go in there and stabilize that slope and get it to where we can certainly maintain it much easier than we have in the past. What that's going to do is cause a complete shutdown of Turkey Creek Road between Lake Haven subdivision and Inverness entryway. We've already been contacting the residents in the area. We've contacted all of the schools and sheriff's department, fire department, all the emergency departments out there to make sure that they're well aware that there needs to be some kind of detour happen during that time period. And the reason for the complete closure is to make sure they can try to get in there and do that work as quickly as possible and get out as quickly as possible so it doesn't delay. But anyway, that will be going on again from August the 18th through September the 14th, and hopefully they can get done before that, but they at least have that time frame to work on that project. Another big event we have going on in town right now is the new Sentinel Golf Open going on at Foxton Country Club, and they had the first opening round today, another second round tomorrow. Then they'll make the cuts, and then they'll have the final two rounds on Saturday and Sunday. So we hope to see a lot of people out there for a big event that we have in our town. And with that, I have nothing else to report.
And attorney's report.
I'd like to thank Alderman Elliott for his hard work the last 5-some years, and in his honor, I know how much he enjoys our executive sessions. And I thought we would have an executive session for him just since it's his last meeting to talk about a matter that we're involved in with litigation.
Oh, boy.
This will be short, won't it?
Absolutely. No, I'm not going to say that. Every time I say it's going to be short, it's long.
Yeah.
So it's going to be long.
Me long.
Definition of short. There you go.
Me long. We got 5 Candy Crush loaves. I know. See, if I hadn't said 45, it'd been an hour.
Oh, come on. We just concluded an executive session in which we were providing information to the board about a matter that's involved in litigation that the town is involved in. There were no deliberations, there were no decisions made. I think I do need a motion, however, in order to move that matter forward.
I'll make the motion that we allow the town attorney and the town administrator to formulate a response to Knox County and the Knox County School Board in response to the litigation that the town attorney has just referenced.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.